PMax in 2024. Here are some reasons why you should consider testing this out and why you're probably eventually going to get cornered into doing so. If you've read the news lately, Google is considering or could potentially lay off up to 30,000 employees in the ads division in sales, customer service, etc., namely in the name of automation. PMax has allowed advertisers, or Google has pushed advertisers, into a single campaign type to rule them all. That does everything: video, display, remarketing, retargeting, search, shopping, etc. And in doing so, has taken a significant number of controls out of the way from advertisers. But it has reduced Google's cost to deliver ads. It's made ads more inefficient, and it's essentially put this advertising into a black box that makes it look like it's easier to do. So what does that mean for you in 2024? It means that this is probably something you should add into your account, at least from a testing perspective, so that you're not really getting any negative marks if there are any like account grades or anything behind the scenes where Google is giving preferential treatment to inventory that's either coming from PMax campaigns or accounts that have a certain number of Google's recommended best practices within it. It's really not a far-fetched, stretched idea to say with the recent litigation that came out last year that proved that Google was changing search results to show ads higher in certain cases where they needed to drive revenue to meet Wall Street expectations, that it wouldn't be too much of a consideration or too far of a stretch to say that, hey, Google could also be, not necessarily shadow banning, but like shadow penalizing ad accounts that aren't following its recommended best practices. And so with PMax, it's inevitably the future. The writings on the wall. We're going to be forced into campaign types that use automation, that take away keywords, go to concepts, and really take away our ability to use any type of hyper-focused targeting, whether it's in the name of privacy or whether it's in the name of Google making more money within your ads accounts. So here are some key things to consider as you are needing to incorporate PMax into your campaigns for 2024 for some e-commerce retailers. First things first, PMax's role is really, really good for the accounts that have a significant number of SKUs, which are uneconomical to manage and to maintain. So if you have, let's just say 100,000 SKUs, take your high AOV products, take your top products, let your campaign managers and your internal marketing teams manage those and work with those in a traditional campaign context. But for the prices of for the items that have low prices that are going to be competing with Amazon for price sensitive shoppers, or there's easy substitutes out there, take those, build those into PMax, put them into asset groups that are tightly knit, and see what you can get in PMax delivering some of those results for those large volume of product SKUs, and see if there's an opportunity within that doesn't take a lot of time for you to manage, that's a little simple and straightforward to set up, and start to make sure you have these campaign types incorporated into your account in a very small way that's going to help ensure that if there is any type of shadow penalization behind the scenes, that you have Google's recommended best practices within your accounts. We have found that PMax is this black box that as we start to pull out threads with little pieces of insight, we uncover and understand how it works a little bit better. It relies heavily on brand. It seems to avoid search, especially for branded search terms. It seems to show shopping ads for branded search terms, which is kind of crazy to us. We ran some tests where we were able to actually run search campaigns alongside of them, and we were able to see some additional lift on both brand and non-brand in a 2 to 3x ROAS, and brand definitely higher than that. And the other thing we also saw with PMax, we ran some tests where we had a product ID that had no known data inside of Google Ads, and we set up a shopping campaign to specifically target it, but then we let this PMax campaign, which also targeted that SKU, just had no product impression or data for it, target those at the same time. What we found is the shopping campaign, after it got about 5 to 6 conversions and we'd see performance really starting to pick up for that product SKU, the PMax campaign would actually pick up that product ID and start advertising for it. And then Google would prefer to give about 9/10 of the traffic to the PMax campaign in this specific test that we were running. So some key considerations here. What this means for us is you should really be taking a lot of the bottom of the bucket, a lot of the hard to organize or low cost items in your e-commerce business, and use PMax to try to serve those. But set up your asset groups in a way where you can see what trends you could pull out of that from an insights perspective. You should know that Google really optimizes whether it's shopping campaigns or PMax off of product IDs in your data feeds, and so or your merchant center feeds. And so when you're considering that, if these are products that you don't traditionally have a lot of data on, they don't have a lot of trends, et cetera, it's a great place for PMax to start to explore that and set up your asset groups in ways where it's going to be forced to explore those asset groups individually, not just dumping everything into a single asset group where it goes, and it cherry picks the items that it think can best work out. Also, definitely make sure that you add in some branded exclusions. Know that it's not necessarily a keyword-based branded exclusion. So it's not going to allow you to add keywords to negate, but it's going to be like topics around your domain name. And unfortunately, those don't include common misspellings or additional spacing, stuff like that. So it gets sort of a decent amount of brand, but not all of the brand. And so those are just key things to consider, and pay attention to how you feel Google is giving preferential treatment to PMax. We have found some cases where it starts to prefer it over branded search or other branded shopping campaigns. And so this is a really good understanding for how you can start to test out PMax in your campaign as we're inevitably, or in your account as we're inevitably being forced into this, and start to understand how it's going to impact your overall campaign architecture and strategy. So you can start to consider what this means moving forward into 2024 and beyond. And we'll catch you next time.